Hi guys, it's Sip and Beton, and we are bringing you the next video in the limited portion of the reviews. And today we will be talking about Vigilancy, commons and uncommons, to prepare you for the upcoming pre-releases and draft. So the first card is from the tier list that we prepared is top target, and we will be going from the bottom to the top, so from the weakest card to the strongest card. And top target is a 1-mana bounty that heals you for 4. That you can heal a unit or a base for 4, and if the target is unique, you can heal for 6 instead. We put that card in the Z tier mostly because even when you play a bounty deck, that effect is basically useless. HP on your base is so rarely a relevant topic in the game that playing a card that their only way of benefiting you is that you give an enemy a bounty is extremely unreliable to play. So yeah, of course, there is one way when you can play this card. If you have Bosk and you don't have enough bounty to play, you may need to put this card in your deck. But if you have any other bounty and any other bounty effect, just don't play this card. We put it in this tier just to show that this effect is really bad in limited formats. And for the next card that you shouldn't play is Midnight Repairs. It's 2 mana, double Vigilance. Heal up to 8 damage from any number of units.
Yep. So this one is pretty straightforward. I mean, it's a double aspect card, and those are basically never good in limited. And this one is also quite specific, like healing 8 damage from a number of units. Like, it requires you to have a lot of units, and they also have to be quite heavily damaged in order for this card to even work. So it's just really not worth running in limited. Never, yeah. Basically.
Even this card, even if it were only 1 Vigilance, would still be in this tier. So I think that's all you need to know about Midnight Repairs. And next card is Vigilant Pursuit Craft. It's a 5 mana space unit with a 3/5 stat line, but it has Sentinel and Smuggle for 7. It's on the bottom of the D tier, so a card that may be put into your deck, but you really shouldn't if you can avoid them, just because it has a terrible stat line. 3/5 for 5 mana is awful. 3/5 for 7 mana is even more bad. So if you have any other 5-drop to fill a curve, play it. If this is your only 5-drop, you may consider putting it in your deck, but it will just not be a very strong card.
Yep, and there are also quite a few ships at this cost that just easily trade with him, like Millennium Falcon, like the red ship in Red Heroes that has 5/6 for 5 stat line. And yeah, that just makes this card pretty underwhelming.
Yeah. And next card in D tier is Unexpected Escape. For 1 mana, you may exhaust a unit, and you may rescue captured card guarded by that unit.
Yeah, so this one, I mean, it sounds okay since there are quite a few of captures in this set, but yeah, it's just quite a low value for a card. Like, it's you technically play only 1, but for the most part, it's quite awkward to keep this card in your hand just in case the opponent might play a capture effect on you. And yeah, like, the exhaust is also quite irrelevant in a lot of cases. Like, sometimes you can just play it for the only exhaust, and in racing situation it's okay, but yeah, this quite is just really clunky. But sometimes if you really need, you can play this in your deck.
Yeah. I will only add that it may be a really good sideboard card. So if you are playing a best of 3 limited, you can have them like on your sideboard, and if your opponent runs a lot of capture cards, this card will be really good. Or in draft, if you see that you passed down a lot of capture cards, you may consider drafting one or two just to have an answer for this. But if you don't know what your opponents are playing, you would be much better just to play any other 1 or 2 drop. Okay, and now we are going to the C tier. So cards that are weaker than average, but in specific leaders they may be really, really good. And we will be starting with Public Enemy. So it's another bounty card. This one is for 0, and the bounty is give a shield token to a unit. And in Bosk, this card is really good, because when Bosk develops, you can give him 2 shields if you collect that bounty. And of course, you can use Bosk ability to deal damage for 0 mana. But in any other deck, you just want cards that will have value when you play them. And unless you have a lot of cards that benefit from the bounty, this bounty is a little bit unreliable to do. Because you not only need to have a unit to put the shield on, you also need to kill enemy unit and not lose the one that you want to put a shield on. So considering all of this, you should only be playing this in Bosk consistently. And on your other decks, it may be your last card or a filler, but you shouldn't focus on drafting those.
I would also like to add that it's okay in Gar-Saxon because shield token is an upgrade, so you get +1/+0 from Gar-Saxon passive, and also in some rare cases, when you really need that 1 damage, you can play the Public Enemy on your own unit, and since it's an upgrade, it will give +1/+0, so sometimes it might come in handy. And also, in terms of Bosk, I'm not even that big a fan of playing this card. Not because this card is particularly bad in Bosk, because in Bosk it sounds good, and it should be good, but the problem is that the blue color isn't that good for Bosk in general. Like the other bounty is pretty underwhelming, and also the blue units are just kind of weak statted, and they don't really synergize that well with what Bosk wants to do.
Yeah, so let's go to the next card. And it's Moisture Farmer. For 1 mana, it's a 0/4 fringe unit that has a Restore 2.
Yeah, so this one doesn't seem particularly great. Like, it's the type of card that you really only want to run in Ray, because in Ray you can play him on turn 1 and then give him an experience token, and then he becomes 1/4, 1/5 for 2 basically. So it's quite a right stat line, and then gives you restore each round. And in Ray it's okay, but outside of Ray it's basically unplayable in my eyes, at least.
Yeah, I will make it simple. If you have Ray, you can pick her or him. If you don't put him in your deck. Don't put that card in your deck. It will feel terrible. But with Ray, it's a decent card. And next we have Warrior 3 Tender. It's a 3 mana Wookiee, 2/4 with Grit. And it's a similar case as with the 0/4. You really want to play him in Ray and in Kira. In any other unit, 2/4 with Grit is just below average in stats. The Grit will most likely not have any effect, because 4 HP is not that much. But if you can benefit from it, so like Kira can damage him and give him a shield, and then he is a 4 attack shielded unit, and Ray can make him a 3/5, and 3/5 is a decent stat line. So it's a unit that you don't want to draft unless you play those units, plays those leaders. But of course, if you are lacking a 3-drop, it's still a body on the board, so it will not be that terrible. And next, we have Follower of the Way. It's a 2 mana Mandalorian, 1/3 stat line, and while this unit is upgraded, it gets +1/+1.
Yeah, so this one, I mean, it's pretty obvious what he wants you to do. He wants to be upgraded and get this +1/+1 upgrade. The main use case for him is in Saxon, because this deck really wants to run quite a few upgrades. He's also good in Ray, because Ray can upgrade him with her experience tokens. And outside of that, he is not that great.
Yeah, I would also add that you can run him in Bo-Katan, because he's a Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And in Kira, you also can damage him to make him a 2-power shielded unit, which is not great, but it's possible if you don't have any better things to do. If your deck doesn't run any upgrades and you have no way of benefiting from him, don't put him in your deck.
Yeah, I mean, it's type of card that you, in Kira and Bo-Katan is the type of card that you don't really want to run that much, but if you just need some Mandalorians in Bo-Katan and maybe just in general 2 drops, then you can play this card, but it's nothing amazing.
And the next card is Rickety Quad Jumper. It's a 1-mana space unit with 1 free stat line. On attack, you may reveal the top card of your deck. If it's not a unit, give an experience token to another unit. So this card is terrible in every single deck except Ray. If you play Ray, you can pick him. He will not feel great. He will feel okay, because you can buff him twice, and then he will trade decently with most units in the air. But in any other deck, this stat line is just terrible, and the fact that he can't upgrade himself makes it even worse. So pick him in Ray, don't pick him in anything else. And next we are going to the good cards, so the cards that are average or better. And first we have 4-mana Nima Outpost Constable. It's a 2/6 Sentinel.
So this guy is pretty alright. Like, his stat line are okay for a 5 cost, nothing amazing, but considering he is a Sentinel, it's okay. Like, he is really good in Ray, obviously, because he's 2 power, so Ray can make him a 3/7 unit, which is a pretty good stat line. And yeah, that's it in terms of this card. Just an okay card.
Yeah. He's also okay in Boba, because when Boba is developed, he's a 3/6. So that's also worth considering, but that's all about him.
The good part about him is the fact that like, there are not that many 4-drops, and you want to make your curve as good as possible. But yeah, he's nothing amazing.
Yeah. Also, in the late game, 6 HP is enough that a lot of units will not be able to kill him in one go. So he's okay in races, because you can put him, he will probably save you from 2 attacks. But he's nothing amazing, because stat lines like 8 stats for 4 is okay. You would much prefer to have 9 or 10, but it's still okay because of the Sentinel. So next we have Embo. It's a 3-mana 3/4 Underworld Bounty Hunter, and when this unit completes an attack, if the defender was defeated, heal up to 2 damage from this unit, from a unit. And it's just a decent statted unit that is Underworld and Bounty Hunter, so he goes well with Cat Bane and Bounty Hunter decks. But the ability is almost always irrelevant. So you shouldn't draft him because of his ability. You draft him because he has a decent stat line. The ability may work once or twice during the tournament, but he is just an okay statted unit that has a really decent traits.
Yeah, I mean, the primary use of his ability is to kill a 2-drop. So your opponent plays a 2-drop on the first round, you play a 2-drop, then next round you play Embo. If they decide to attack your base with their 2-drop, then the next round you can kill their unit with Embo, heal Embo, and that's a good trade, but it's quite rare. And yeah, you basically want to play him mainly for his stats. Like, his stats are just alright for a 3-drop. Also, if you manage to upgrade him, maybe his ability becomes more relevant.
And the next card is Foundling. It's a 1 mana upgrade that gives your attached unit Mandalorian trait and gives also +1/+1.
Yeah. So this one is okay. I mean, it's an upgrade, and upgrades are just good in general. The cool thing about giving a Mandalorian trait is the fact that Armorer, so another blue heroic unit, gives shield tokens to a unit that to up to 3 units that are Mandalorians, and this card can make your leader a Mandalorian, even if it's not baseline. So Rey or Finn can become a Mandalorian. Outside of that, it's okay in Gar Saxon because it gives basically a unit +2/+1, considering Gar's passive ability. And yeah, just a okay upgrade, like pretty good. Nothing too spectacular.
Like
it also it synergizes slightly with the guy on the very top of this list because it's an upgrade, so you can play him.
I will only mention the fact that upgrades are in constructed formats are not very good because there is a lot of removal, a lot of way to deal with the units. And on limited formats, they feel extremely strong because getting your minions +1/+1 will make them trade efficiently. So if you put this on the unit, it will trade with the other unit and survives, and it will make it worth. It will make it worth more than it should normally. Okay, so and the next card is HWK 290 Freighter. It's a 3 mana spaceship with a 2/5 stat line. Okay, in most expansions, this card would be in D tier because it's 2/5 in space is not amazing, but considering that most of the ships in this set have 2 HP, and he trades with them and survives, he will be really efficient in managing to lock the space arena. He also is extremely strong in Rey, because 3/6 in space is a unit that will trade with almost everything and survives. And just for that reason, it's a high in the B tier. It's mostly because he fits really well in the current state of the expansion. And lastly, from the good cards from the B tier, we have Covered Strength. Heal 2 damage from a unit for 1 mana and give it an experience token. It also has Smuggle for 3 resources.
Yeah. So this is the type of card that you mainly want to play for its Smuggle cost, because it's kind of, I mean, it's not ideal to play a card for 1 resource in drafts because for the most part you want to be efficient with your cards, and if you play too many cheap cards, you will run out of cards, and then you will struggle in late game. But since this card has a Smuggle, it really makes it stronger quite significantly. Like the fact that you can use it on leaders is also a huge factor, like killing 2 from your leader and then giving it experience token might make him stay on the board for way longer, and that's a huge value for sure.
Yeah, I can also add that just giving 1 experience token for 1 in limited is okay, even if you don't heal any damage. If you manage to heal and give an experience, it's just an extremely value proposition. So this card may cut a lot of people off guard because there is not a lot of healing in the game. So you should consider running it in your deck, and you will see how powerful this effect may be. Okay, and now we are going to the A tier, so cards that are for us consistently strong, and you should draft them when you see them if you are considering Vigilance as a color. And the first of them is Embrace Grapple Shot. It's 2 mana for an upgrade that gives +2/+2 that you can attach to a non-vehicle unit, and the unit gains an ability on attack, exhaust the defender. And this card, especially in this set, will be really, really strong. On the first set, we had Academy Training. Academy Training was amazing because you could attach it to space and ground unit, and it was giving +2/+2. So this card is a little bit weaker than Academy Training, but the fact that there is a lot of upgrade synergy, and the fact that +2/+2 will make almost any card a threat, even though the ability is almost always irrelevant, will make this card extremely strong in the set. The amount of cards that benefit from upgrades and the amount of leaders that you could equip it to and make them really trade efficiently with other leaders. So every single 4/6 leader, when you equip it, will be trading with another 4/6 leader and survives. And just for that, you should consider running a few of those cards in your deck. Okay, so we can go to the next card, and it's a really important one. It's a 6-mana Rival's Fall. It's a tactic, defeat a unit.
Yeah, so pretty straightforward card. Like Min, it's pretty good. Like removal is pretty good in limited in general, and having this type of effect allows you to kill leaders, allows you to kill upgraded units, and all sorts of like big threats, like any bomb that an opponent might have, and it's just really valuable to have this type of card in your deck. This is also the type of card that I would even consider running out of Aspect. So even if you don't play blue, you can pay 8 for this type of card, and it's gonna be still alright because it sometimes might just save the game.
Okay. I may only add that it's a card that you really need to remember exists in the set, because whenever you will be playing against blue, they will have it almost 100% because it's a common. And the ability to kill a leader, and a lot of leaders develop on 6, will make it whenever you play versus blue color, you should always be cautious with upgrading your leader or a big card. Versus blue, you much rather prefer to spread your resources across the board, so go wider. But it's an amazing card. If you can draft them, you should. But you should also consider that you should never have too many of a removal that is really expensive.
Yep. Also, one of the ways you can play around this card. So let's say you're playing against someone who is blue. Your leader deploys at 6, and they have 6 resources. So you can just try to spend your resources and play some units. And if they are still waiting with Rival's Fall for your leader to deploy, you can just take the initiative and go to the next round, and that's a good play. Like, it's the similar concept to playing around Takedown with Sabine in the very first set, and it works similarly in this one.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And the next card that we think is even a little bit better removal is Fell the Dragon. So it's a 4-mana, defeat a non-leader unit with 5 or more power. And the fact that it's a really cheap removal that will kill the most powerful cards in the set, it makes it really efficient. And yes, there may be some games when your opponent will not have any unit that has 5 or more power, and it will not feel great. But whenever you play it, whenever you manage to play it, this card will always be benefiting you in value. And that's a really big deal, especially in cards that are removal, because you may be able to kill something and squeeze enough mana to play something else. And especially in the set that focuses mostly on upgrades, removal that kills big stuff will be stronger than normal.
Yep. I mean, it's a type of card that you're unlikely to play on 4 resources because of its restriction, but later on in the game, it just helps you to kill huge threats in general.
Yeah. And now let's talk about our only card that is in the first pick category, and it's Fen Rao, a 6-mana Mandalorian that has 5/6 stats. Whenever you play him, you may play an upgrade from your hand, and it will cost 2 less. And whenever you play an upgrade on this unit, you may give another unit -2/-2 for this phase.
Yeah, I mean, since the upgrades are good in general in drafts and seals, like the card that allows you to play them cheaper and then gives you this type of effect of -2/-2 for a phase is just amazing value. There are quite a few upgrades that work well with him that are common. So the Grappler, the card that we have in A tier, is a common. Foundling is a common card also, and I believe there are quite a few more, and that's like that's enough that there are enough upgrades to make his ability quite consistent. And
you can also play bounties on him just to benefit from the effect. So if you play Public Enemy, it will also trigger the -2/-2 effect. And it's really important because later in the game, you may be stuck with a bounty you don't want to really play. And then you have the ability to use it for a removal on something.
Yeah, and he's also a Mandalorian, which works with Bo-Katan and stuff like that. And he's just a good unit in general if you manage to play an upgrade on him.
And if you are lucky and you manage to draft Mandalorian's Armor, which is rare, it's a 2-mana upgrade that gives +1/+3. And if the unit is Mandalorian, it also gives a shield. Then this unit becomes a 6/9 with shielded unit, and it's your opponent needs to have a removal, or you will just win the game.
Yeah, there are just quite a few of upgrades. Brutalist Tradition is another one. It's a common in a blue-black villainy. So yeah, there's a lot of good cards that work well with him.
Yeah. What I want to add at the end, I think this time blue color is really, really dependent on the leader you will play. And at least for me, it feels like if you will be playing gray, this color will feel really, really good. But at least in the practice runs we did with sealed and draft, for other leaders, it's really hard to build a good deck that runs blue.
I would say Saxon is good. I mean, Saxon is really good in draft. Finn and Kira are difficult to build, but Gar Saxon is also a really strong leader.
Yeah, he is a really strong leader, but you will probably run more non-blue cards in him than blue cards.
Yeah, I mean, there are quite a few cards that are just basically good in Ray in this in blue this time around.
Yeah, so I just, for me, it's whenever I will be drafting, because it's more important in drafting, I will be considering like focusing on Vigilancy if I have a leader that will really benefit from it. So mostly Ray.
Yeah, and it's very likely that if you try to build Ray deck, then in drafts people are gonna pass you the cards that are good in her basically because they don't wanna run them in other decks. Like the Warshi Wookiee, the Farmer, they're just good in Ray and not really anywhere else.
Yeah, and that's why in the previous video we say that we think Ray will be the strongest leader in Limited, because she make a card that in any other deck is a trash card, a card that is really decent, and that's a really big boost for her in Limited format, because you will be passed down those cards a lot, and you can build really consistent, strong deck. Okay, I think it's all for this video. Thank you for listening, and have a great day.
See ya.